Okay. If you look at this, you look at the two short rulers that I have. Does everybody notice that they're parallel?
Yeah.
Yeah? So if they're parallel and you look at this angle here and this angle here, do they look like they have the same measurement?
Yes.
You see that? If I alter it, but I keep the two sides parallel, then the angle in this position is always going to have the same measure as the angle in this position. No matter how I move it, they will always have the same measurement. Does that make sense? See that? So here they would both be how many degrees? 90. And if they're over here, they become acute, right? But they maintain the same relationship and therefore the same measure. If they're over here, they become obtuse, but they still have the same measurement. This angle and this angle here will always have the same measurement as long as the two lines are parallel. The relationship there is like what I'm saying with angle 1 and angle 5 right here. They're called corresponding angles. And the basic understanding you should have of corresponding angles is that they're in the same position in two different intersections. You guys understand what I'm saying? The same position. So, like angle 1 is in the upper left of this intersection. Angle 5 is in the upper left of this intersection. Is that making sense to you? So those are corresponding. So let's practice this. What angle would be corresponding to angle 4? 8. You guys get that? 4 and 8 are in the lower right corner of their given intersection, so they're corresponding. And of course, corresponding angles, just like vertical angles, corresponding angles are congruent. Okay? So what angle would correspond to angle 3 here?
7.
7. Good. What angle would correspond to angle 6?
2.
2. Okay, do we all have that idea? So, if I was to say that angle 3 had a measure of 100 degrees, what would be the measure of angle 7? 100 degrees. And why would it be 100 degrees? Because corresponding angles are congruent. That would be the complete answer. Does that make sense? Okay. There are other relationships formed by parallel lines. For instance, alternate interior. Okay, so actually look at this word, interior and exterior. What does interior sound like?
Inside.
Inside, and exterior sounds like
Outside.
outside. So the interior angles are the ones that are between the parallel lines. An alternate means on the opposite side of this line. This line is called the transversal. More about that later. Alternate interior would be like 3 and 6, or 4 and 5. You guys get that? Because they're on opposite sides of the transversal on the inside of the parallel lines. So those are the alternate interior. So think about, what do you think alternate exterior is going to be? Outside. So what would be the alternate exterior with 2? 7. What would be the alternate exterior with 8? 1. Is that working for you guys? Okay. In all cases, just like vertical angles, corresponding angles, alternate interior and alternate exterior are all congruent. So you can figure out all these angles the same. So in other words, 2 and 3 are what? What's their relationship? Vertical. Look at them. Just like we just talked about. Vertical angles are across from each other. So 2 and 3 are vertical angles, so they're congruent. 4 and 8 are what? Corresponding. Alternate interior, like 4 with what? 5. And alternate exterior, like 7 with 2. In all cases, with these relationships, you have congruent angles. The other relationships sets we have are same side interior. So what does same side mean? Same side. And what does interior tell you?
Inside.
Inside. So like 4 and 6, 3 and 5. And then same side exterior means same side on the outside. So that would be like 8 and 2, 7 and 1. And they are supplementary. What does supplementary mean again?
It equals 180.
They add to 180 degrees. So for instance, if angle 7 is 110 degrees, what would angle 1 be?
110. No. 90. 90.
Not 90.
Oh. 70.
70. Why 70?
Because it has to equal 180.
And what's their relationship? 7 and 1 are what?
Same side.
Same side exterior, because they're on the outside. So these are same side exterior angles, therefore one would have to be 70. So the key thing you need to understand is how many angles do you need to know before you can answer all the rest? One. Because if you have one, between all of these relationships, you can easily answer the other 7. Does that make sense? So as long as your math is good, you're good. Okay. Let's do something a little bit more about the real world. There's a building in Madrid, Spain, and it looks a little like this. It's kind of crazy. It looks like this. It actually exists.
Oh, I know.
Has anyone ever seen this thing?
No.
Kind of looks a little like this. It's got like parallelogram sides, so it leans. So the floors inside the building all have walls that lean. So let's say this is the 3rd floor and this is the 7th floor here. And this angle outside of the street, let's say that that's 100 degrees. Well, what would be the angle between the floor and the wall over here on the 3rd floor?
80.
80. How do you know it's 80?
Because there's supplementary.
Because the floor doesn't move.
The floor, yeah, okay. The floor doesn't move, right? Let's use a little bit of logic here. If we've got this building here, and the wall, the outside to the ground is 100 degrees, what would be the measure of this angle inside? 80. And then what would be the relationship between this angle and this angle here?
Corresponding.
Corresponding. If you look at it, because they're both in the upper right corner of their given intersection. And corresponding angles are always what? Congruent. So this angle here would be 80 degrees. Now what would be the angle between the other side of the 3rd floor and its wall? 100. Let's check this out. You guys all see how this is another transversal and these are also parallel lines?
Yeah.
So if you look at this, these would be same side interior angles. You see how they're same side interior? And then same side interior angles are always supplementary. So actually, how many of these angles have to be given before we can figure out all the other angles in the building? Just one. Once we've got this 100, we can figure out all the rest of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So okay, what would be the measure of this angle right here?
100.
100. How about this one up here?
80.
80. So that would be like with the ceiling and the wall. And this one right here?
100.
100. Good. This one here would be
100.
100. This one would be
80.
80. Okay, good. So we've got all of our parallel line properties showing up here. And between, let's review, vertical angles, corresponding angles, alternate interior and alternate exterior, always being congruent. Same side interior, same side exterior, and linear pairs always being supplementary. You can solve a lot of angles just by one given angle. So hopefully you study up and hopefully this is good. Thanks a lot.